Here's an episode idea. What if, Jake, for this one, we talked about a bunch of random different topics?
Oh my God. Can we even talk about Phil Spencer and Xbox?
Yes, Jake, we can talk about Phil Spencer and Xbox.
A critical error is an error which the OS cannot reasonably ignore. Jake Steinberg is a streamer, writer, and certified yapper. Complimentary. Peter Hunt Szpytek is a YouTuber, journalist, and certified yapper. Derogatory. These are the things they cannot reasonably ignore.
Okay, so by now, we're all familiar with this news. Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, they exit Xbox. We've got this new AI person taking their place. I don't need to run through all of this. What is the most compelling part about this news? What do we want to talk about the most?
Okay, so here's something that we talked about a little bit, I think even when we did our BDS episode. This idea that, like, when covering a company like Xbox, a lot of people are, like, taking their word for what's going on and allowing this company and companies in general, allowing them to sort of control the way that they want their news to break. Does that kind of make sense? A lot of people are saying, like, oh my gosh, Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond both decided to leave the company on the same Friday afternoon. And it's like, listen, I don't work at Xbox. I don't know what's going on back there. However, are we all sure? Are we all sure that that happened exactly like Xbox is telling us it's happening?
It's this funny thing, right? Because I think to anybody watching the situation and maybe even aware of the Xbox brand over the past few years, it feels
it's not going good.
And I don't really need a behind the scenes look at what is going on with Xbox because I'm familiar with the scenes in front of me.
Yes.
There's this hilarious thing going on where it's like, hey, everybody, I think that maybe they were fired. I think that maybe that's kind of what happened. And the story that we should be interrogating is the one that is most clear and in front of our faces. But I felt that the response to this news, Phil Spencer's leaving, Sarah Bond's not taking over, she's out as well, we've got this new person coming in, there were like two distinct paths that someone could go down.
Yes.
And this was the most telling event ever for the people that are, for lack of a better term, the foot soldiers of the Xbox brand. I cannot believe the self-reporting of the influencer accounts who once they were betrothed to Mr. Phil Spencer are now throwing their feet at the replacement. We've got to give her a chance. We've got to see her out. We've got to see what kind of leadership she's going to bring to the Xbox brand. It's this very interesting thing where I thought they had an allegiance to Phil Spencer. They had a relationship to him. He was a friend. He was somebody that they believed in his leadership. But now that he's out, it is more clear to me than ever that the thing that they really have allegiance to is the brand above all else. Above all else.
Yes. And it's this thing that's like, it's awkward, right? Because to me, it's moments like these that I think are pretty telling. For whatever reason, like this also makes me think of that big Insomniac leak that happened like 3 years ago. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
When like all of these journalists and content creators and whatever were like, hey, we are not going to be reporting on the Insomniac leak. And to me, that's a test that you have failed, or maybe you passed, depending on sort of like the way you're looking at it, right? To me, it's like, hey, if that is the position you're taking with this, you're kind of not a journalist. Like I'm sorry, you're just not, right? If you're more interested in the people who are in this company and what's going on with this company, then you actually are to like getting to the bottom of this and like trying to figure out like, hey, who does it serve for Phil Spencer to just say, you know what, it's time to retire, for Sarah Bond to be like, you know what, now's the time for me to leave Xbox. I think it's the time. Who does it serve for it to be that clean and that an easy of a cut, you know?
It's this incredibly funny thing where there is maybe a bit of a performative reflex when layoffs happen in the video game industry in any regard. The fact that we extend the exact same performative reflex, and maybe even more so, to a CEO like Phil Spencer, who God knows how cushy his retirement is going to be, makes me wonder exactly what our sympathies are for the people who get laid off and why, because this seems to be a completely separate situation from me. And one of the most prominent kind of responses to his exit that I saw over the past week were people in the kind of games media apparatus posting stories about Phil Spencer, about times in which he extended kindness to them, about times in which he proved he was one of us. And it's exactly what you're talking about with that Insomniac thing, because I think it's the kind of Xbox is my friend problem is a reaction to access journalism, because the coverage has become a response to social anecdotes, private kindness, largely centered on vibes above all else. Phil Spencer is kind of, we can see now, was able to successfully curry the favor of a lot of people in that games media apparatus by simply cosplaying as a gamer.
Yeah, and it's been interesting too, because like so much of the conversation surrounding this new Microsoft gaming CEO, Asha Sharma, seems to be dominated in these sorts of spaces, in like the sort of like Xbox influencer space, about like, yeah, but she's like not a gamer, dude. And it's like, yeah, Phil Spencer was, and look what he was doing. It wasn't going good. You know?
Yeah, see, and that's a funny thing too, because there is this like public mourning of what the loss of Phil Spencer represents, and I'm so confused. Like, what exactly was it that people were so attached to about the Xbox brand for the past decade? Because it wasn't the games. So
so something interesting about this too is like bringing up this idea of like mourning, like quote unquote, like mourning the loss of Phil Spencer in the games industry, right? And then also like a bunch of people like sharing their stories about Phil Spencer, which by all accounts seems like a nice enough guy, right? Like whatever, that's not the problem here. It's that then there's this piece that goes up on Windows Central that is like eulogizing like goodbye Phil Spencer, you brought Xbox to be the best it's ever been, and like let's welcome in, you know, this new CEO and whatever. And it's this like this really, to me, like awkward sort of like corporate apologia piece, and everyone, it feels like in the games media space, is like dunking on this and saying like this is bad, this is embarrassing, like whatever. But then at the same time, it is all of those people and their friends who are still like also doing the same thing, just not writing a piece about it, saying it that exact way. You sort of know what I mean? Like there's this odd like, hey, it's okay to sort of like glaze Phil Spencer and the Xbox brand, but not as blatantly as you're doing it. But I can do it on my Twitter account or my Blue Sky account or whatever, but I'm not going to, you know, do a post about it on the website I work at. It just is very weird, like double standard to me that I just have a hard time figuring out.
There is a double standard, and this is probably only like most visible to people like you and me who are entrenched in the space, and we are able to kind of discern the multiple classes of kind of the games media clique, because the fact of the matter is that we can look at something happening last week kind of completely unrelated to this, like Todd Howard appearing on Kind of Funny Games Daily for this or whatever their show is, for this kind of extensive interview that I think is largely similar to the kind of thing that you find on maybe The View, and it's softball questions. They're largely as a PR effort, kind of laundering the reputation of this person for the sake of giving him the appearance of so and so is our friend. And then I think what you're seeing now is this response from kind of the people in the same niche as maybe the Kind of Funnies, having these responses to Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond leaving, because they are the kinds of people that can, in a performative way, be like, look, this person's our friend. They're going to come on our shows and they're going to talk to us and we're going to talk about the games. And now we're mourning the loss of that relationship. This person now who is in this position, we don't have a relationship to us. Maybe they don't even see us as valuable. And that is worth mourning. That is worth,
And you know what's kind of interesting about this too? You know, you sort of said like that show was kind of like The View and whatever. And I think that's interesting because I think that something I've been doing over the past year or so has been sort of reframing the way that I think about a lot of like games media stuff. Because here's the thing, and I'm not willing to die on this hill because I just don't know that much about The View, but I can't imagine that The View is like something that's so incredibly harmful to the world. It's just like daytime talk show, right?
Of course, but the thing about The View is that I think sometimes The View is even serving up questions that are a little bit more intense than what we're willing to do. Because the core of this is that with every PR engagement, and that's what any of these people coming on a show like Kind of Funny is. It's a PR engagement. They come in with a message.
Yeah.
And there's an agreed upon message between the platform and the person. That's why, the movie stars whose movies are coming out go on to The Tonight Show. This is the message.
Yes.
We are here to advertise something. And as a journalist, bottom level, and I'm not saying everybody has to adhere to this, but I think if you're operating under the guise of journalism, then this is kind of the bare minimum standard, is you need to be able to lightly push back against whatever that narrative is, or question it, or something. You need to identify that's their story.
Yes.
This is my story.
So that's sort of what I'm getting at, though, where I'm like, okay, here's the thing, though. Like, I'm not super plugged into like the Kind of Funny community and creators and whatever, other than our boy Barrett Courtney, who was a lovely guest on our show. But like, I don't know if they're calling themselves journalists over there. Right?
I don't think so. I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
but this thing, sort of what I've been working at like over the past year is sort of like remembering and like realizing like, oh wait, like we do need to, I think we need to reframe the idea of who is a journalist and who isn't. And a lot of it comes down to these sorts of opportunities, right? I don't think there's any, like again, I'm going to make a blanket statement here that I haven't thought about, so I'm not willing to die on this hill. But like, I don't think there's anything wrong with Kind of Funny being the view of
Oh no,
video games.
absolutely,
You know what I mean?
absolutely not. The problem is in the lack of diversity. The problem is
that's correct. Is that the problem I've been realizing is I've been like, oh wait, everyone's the view.
Everyone's the view.
Like everyone's the view, and that is to me a sign of maybe a media landscape that is not particularly healthy, because if, as we've talked about a lot on this show, the idea of journalism is to push back against corporate interests and like governmental interests and things like that, to ask the question of like, hey, why are we doing this? Hey, why are you as a company doing this? If no one is really doing that and everyone is just getting to interview, not just Todd Howard, but like all the other people they interview, Suda51 or Miyazaki or whoever, like, if there's never a follow-up question, but like, hey, what about this thing that wasn't on the approved questions list?
Right. And I think you so clearly see this lack of a counterbalance in just how saturated the gaming space is with these kind of enthusiast accounts, which is why one of the prevailing stories about the exit of Phil Spencer and the replacement character is centered on this question of gamer credentials, of how important it is that this person plays video games, understands video games. Is it, should the CEO understand the product of whatever company it is that they're dealing with? I think in a lot of instances it would be very easy for us to just be like, I guess it doesn't really matter. But with games specifically, we have decided that it does. And I'm not really interested in litigating this question. I don't think it's particularly interesting. But what I am interested in is the fact that the gamer credential question was able to kind of rise to the top of discussion, whereas maybe more controversial aspects of this person's background, aspects that I think are maybe more detrimental to the video game space, have been entirely ignored.
Well, so what's interesting here, Jake, is, and maybe like if we're talking in circles a little bit, you can stop me, but like it's this idea that like, oh wait, we're not going to be able to chop it up with Asha Sharma. Yeah. Because she doesn't know, what's up with Gears of War. You know what I mean? Right. Okay, yeah. So she'll come on the podcast and I guess we'll just talk about the business. Oh gosh. It feels like to me that if the people who are doing these interviews are people who are maybe less prepared to talk about the real journalism side of talking to an executive at not just a major corporation, one of the major corporations in the entire world, on the entire planet. And if all we can talk about is like, hey, what happened with Redfall? Like, I think that maybe there are some problems with the ecosystem here, if those are the only questions that are being asked.
Yeah, there's this really odd thing, right? Because there was this like video conversation with Asha, where Asha Sharma, the new, I don't even really know what the title is of this Xbox position.
I'm looking at Forbes.com. She is the new Microsoft Gaming CEO.
They change that, whatever that position is, every goddamn year.
Yeah, it's because I think that she doesn't want to be the head of Xbox, because that's what it was before.
Not great.
Not great. But, no.
It's so like for example, she having this AI background is also a natalist, which is not particularly good. And to explain this to the listener, there was like this video interview thing where this came out, and she had this statement about feeling anxiety around, will my son have classmates, right? This framing of fertility as declining fertility rates as this kind of looming social emptiness. But the actual analysis that a serious person would conduct is answering this question of why are birth rates declining. And it's very obvious to anybody willing to look into this for just a little bit, because across the almost entirety of the global north, people are having fewer children because the housing costs are up, because there are
good luck affording one,
because there are crushing childcare, student debt, lack of healthcare, anxiety over the climate, all of these issues, all of the material conditions is what I'm interested in. And I think, like, then you've got this person coming in and saying, how do we use AI to increase pregnancy rates? And it's like, dude, I just think that there is this, like, this technological optimization of reproduction. What's happening there is you are centering the labor supply over the quality of life for human beings. And maybe that is a bad sign for your CEO to be doing that, for your leader at your
yeah, but it's this thing where it's like I imagine that she's not going to be out doing, you know, the Kind of Funny press junket, right? Not just Kind of Funny.
I don't know.
It's just the one that's
know.
on top of my mind.
I don't. Yeah.
But like, you know, like I to me, I don't really see it. Because I think that a lot of the questions that are thrown, you know, their way are about the specifics of games and stuff. In the same way that, like, I don't know, like removed from his, I guess, personality, I guess. Can you imagine someone like Bobby Kotick going and doing this? No, because he's like not concerned with games or gaming. He's concerned with the business, you know, and he like bad example because he's who he is, also not involved there anymore, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? Like, no, it would be weird for someone like that to show up on these shows, especially I do think because, like, yeah, I don't want to go there. It's just,
but Peter, at the same time, I think it's important to contextualize that over the past however many years, we have seen just an unending spree of layoffs at Xbox, and Phil Spencer has successfully dodged responsibility for every single one of those layoffs, even though as the leadership, that starts at him. That's 100%. It starts with him. And the fact that I think, you know, somebody like Bobby Kotick, who is just an all-around evil person, but Phil Spencer has been able to launder his reputation to the point that people don't even see him as a CEO. They see him as this kind of ideological leader in the video game space, which is absolutely insane. The fact that, like, I felt like I was watching, like, Henry Kissinger died, and everybody's tweeting out their nice stories about Henry Kissinger sent me an email once, and he was actually really nice to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, do you actually care about?
Well, it's this thing, right, where it's like obviously that is a like exaggeration.
I'm sorry,
right?
I'm being a goof. I was being a goof.
No. But I think it's just worth pointing out that, like, because I think sometimes people take us a little too seriously on this podcast. If I'm being honest with you, obviously it's an exaggeration, but it's like, okay, we all care about video game layoffs. Right? Okay, everyone is so devastated that Blue Point Games got closed by PlayStation. Everyone's devastated. Everyone was devastated that, you know, Xbox closed Arcane and Tango Gameworks and, like, literally everything they had. The Coalition, I think. It doesn't matter. Like, everything they own, they just have shut down over the last, like, few years for the most part. And it's this frustrating thing where, like, okay, we all care about that. But then, yes, when Phil Spencer shows up, let's talk to him about Forza. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, why are we asking him about Forza? Why are we asking him about Fable and whatever else? Why are we not saying, like, hey, man, we all care about the people who work in this industry. We all care about good games. What the fuck is going on over there, man? Well,
and now, again, kind of shifting our attention back to this kind of, like, Xbox influencer that is, like, you need to give this person a chance in this role rather than being immediately critical of them. I don't know. I think it's entirely fair for our analysis to be based on the fact that the new head of Xbox has deep ties to Microsoft's AI strategy, cloud infrastructure, and just, like, overall enterprise optimization. Because what does that signal to me in terms of Xbox's long-term strategy? Is the priority going to be content, hardware, subscriptions, or is it going to be data infrastructure? Are we, like, what is this AI integration going to look like? There's a quote out there about how she's against bad AI.
It's like, oh,
which is
good. Oh, good. You're against bad AI. Great.
But I saw people into space slurping this up.
I know.
Slurp. So I don't know. I think it's just incredibly fair for us to be critical of all of these people, especially the incoming ones, and this kind of personalization of power, the soft corporate critiques, the fandom surrounding these executives is absolutely embarrassing. I don't know what we're doing with this. It's like we're talking about like a celebrity that died that we met at Comic-Con once.
Yeah, no, 100%. Where it's like, I guess, like, I don't know. I don't know this person. You know what I mean? Like I have a photograph of me with Doug Bowser from like the Game Awards or something like that. I'm like, I don't know who he is. This is a stranger to me.
It's crazy how well the PR works, and
yes.
and then I think we can transition off of this. But it's funny to me that like somebody like Jeff Keighley has not been able to achieve this. Actually, the more I think about it,
it's this interesting thing where like we all just decided that, hey, everyone, fuck Jeff Keighley. Fuck Jeff Keighley. He's the worst. He's the worst. He's the worst. Phil Spencer though, that's my dad. That's my boy. You know? Dude. And it's this frustrating thing where it's like. We pick and choose who are the characters that get to be the good guys based on literally nothing. Based on like not even based on what they have done and who they are and what they do. It's ludicrous to me, but yeah, so
we promised that we were going to talk about multiple topics in this episode. So I say we do a clean break. I think I'm going to even go in and do time codes on the YouTube video that I've never done. I know the experience. Think about the user experience right now.
I'm thinking about it.
If you want more, what are these called? Quality of life updates to the Critical Error podcast. I suggest that you go to patreon.com/criticalerror. Check out all of our bonus episodes. $5 and up subscribers get access to them right now. Posted a juicy 2-hour bonus pod today, reading through some creative writing submissions from the nation. Check it out. But Peter, our next topic.
Please.
I wanted to talk to you about this Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green price discourse. So this is the week that this is going up. It's going to be Pokemon Day on Friday. These ROMs, these ports, whatever you want to call them, they're coming out on the Nintendo Switch eShop. Pokemon Fire Red, 20 bones. Pokemon Leaf Green, 20 bones. And dear God, this has taken over the discourse surrounding these games. This is the most prominent thing I've seen online in the Nintendo spaces, is people saying $20 is a moral scandal. This is too much. What do you think about this?
Let me say this. You want to know how big this has gotten? It's that the fact that this rolled across my desk before you even brought it up to me. The fact that when we were talking about this idea, I was like, dude, what's going on with this Fire Red Leaf Green thing? Because I've seen people talk about this. I have no context for it. So everyone's mad about this price, right? And so let me ask you a question, because you are someone who's much more plugged into Pokemon than I am.
Yeah, sure.
So like, is it just that people are mad that it's $20 and that like they're just mad that they're selling it again, or like what is the actual like anger for this?
My true feelings on this are that something psychological is happening. I think that truthfully, I think that things for Pokemon fans are so good. New games come out all of the time. Yeah. The content is exciting. There's always things to look forward to. And frankly, I think that complaining is just the easiest form of discourse. And I think that in interpersonal communications, especially online, people are getting lazier than ever. So they default to the quickest way in which they can produce a take. And a really, really easy take to have is, how could you charge me $20? I could download this ROM right now for free. I could steal this easily right now for free. How could you possibly say that this is worth $20? I think that's it.
Which is like, am I crazy? That's like kind of odd. That's like an odd
of course it's kind of odd. So
it's like the question of like, how dare you charge me for anything? It's like, well, it's a product. I don't know. Like maybe I'm off base here just because I'm not as familiar with Pokemon, but I'm like, how do they charge you for this? There's remakes and remasters all the time, and I think like $20 is pretty good for what is my understanding, like one of the most influential and best games of all time.
And what's crazy too is that I see some people be like, "Oh, this should just be available on the library with Nintendo Switch Online." I'm like,
sure, I think that's fair,
but then it would eclipse $20 rather quickly. It would maybe 3 months. It would be more. No,
that's
than
also true. Yeah.
So I don't know, but I think that, again, as I often like to do on this show, once you make a comparison to another form of media, I think the the jester maxing nature of this discourse kind of reveals itself to me. So, for example, if I were to go out and try to buy a copy of Pride and Prejudice right now at a bookstore, and I walk in and I tell them I can read this online for free in its entirety. It is, it came out in the 1800s. There's no copyright on this thing. It's in the public domain. You think that they're going to go, Jake, you're right. We should charge $5 for this.
Right. It's like, odd. It's like an odd response. And then I guess the question is like, so what is the correct amount of money?
What is the correct amount of money? Which is a hilarious question, right? Because it's like, is all of this stink? Are we making it about the difference between $10 and $20? Very funny. Nintendo games have almost throughout the entire history of their platforms have famously retained their value, which I actually think is a good thing, because we should recognize that there is value inherent to the thing, to the text. Are you trying to tell me that something happened in video games over the course of the past 20 whatever years where the value that Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green had when they launched has just fallen through the floor
to the point where now it is worth no dollars, none,
right?
None
Exactly,
dollars. Yeah.
Exactly. It is just all of these books that have come out since Pride and Prejudice. Now I look back at Pride and Prejudice and I go, that trash, that $3 book.
Can I be honest with you? I think that no, this is. I don't know how open people are to hearing this. I think we get a lot of shit for free, and I think sometimes people take that for granted. Like I'm not saying that I'm turning my nose up at getting stuff for free. Thank you very much. I'll take it to go. But with stuff like free monthly games from having your online subscription to PlayStation or whatever, we get a lot of stuff for free. There's free content updates to games all the time. What's that? Ghost of Yotei Legends or whatever it is, that multiplayer update, that looks like it's a whole other game, and it's, if you own the game, it's free, right? There's so much free content out there that I think that when a studio says, hey, we are actually charging money for this, I feel like more often than not there is at least some pushback saying how dare you charge us money for your labor. Now here's the thing, I think people who are more familiar with Pokemon are going to be clapping back saying well, Peter, this already existed, they just threw this onto the set. I have no idea how development works, right? But I think I just look at this and I'm I just don't think that everything is free. I just don't think everything is free all the time.
People make such a big stink about games preservation.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they think that looks like, if not this. But I think also too, it's like, oh, it's just the ROM that I can download right now. It's well, no, because you're paying for the format, the convenience, the preservation, the legitimacy, the curation, the integration in your platform. You know what I can do on this Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green that I can't do on my ROM? I can do game chat. You and I could be playing Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green online, seeing each other's screens while we're playing. That's kind of fun. And, there's stuff in there that's this isn't just, when people say it's just the ROM, I find that to be such a barren argument, because I hate to break it to you, but do you know what every single video game you ever buy is?
Right.
It's just a ROM.
Licensing the ROM. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Or license in every situation you are licensing the ROM. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, this is not corporate apologia. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't think that's what this is. It's just this recognition that hey, this company's trying to sell a product and people are mad that they're trying to sell it at all. It feels because then it just comes back to the question of okay, so how much should they be charging for this? $5? But even then, if it's $5, they're not going to be people why are they selling this for $5? Why is it not free?
Yeah, that's why I think that this discourse is interesting, and I find it to be largely illegitimate. Because if your argument is, I think this thing should be $10 cheaper, is that not just everything in your life?
Yeah, same, man.
Yeah.
I would love if everything were $10 cheaper. Yeah, great.
And I think my issue is that this very subjective consumer preference is just masquerading as this objective claim of value of I know because I can steal this ROM, I can tell you what it's worth, actually,
which is nothing, by the way,
which is nothing,
which is the nothing. Response. And
so I don't know, I feel like price discourse just surrounding Nintendo at all right now is I was talking to patron Abram about this from Backlog Banter, and it's really just a sign of things being so good for Nintendo right now that people have to gaslight themselves into thinking that there are bigger problems than there actually are. And that's how I feel about this.
Yeah, no, I think that's true, right? It is a company that is largely not right. I think because that company is so quiet with a lot of its like internal problems, we don't hear about them a lot until like after, like way after the fact, you know. So yeah, this is one of those things where like, well, we got to find something to be mad about,
right?
So yeah.
And to kind of, did you have something else on this?
No, keep going.
Yeah, to kind of transition into one of our next conversations we wanted to have is that there is like this weird thing right now where I feel like as a Nintendo fan, I could not be happier. The abundance of games coming out. I feel like the talk about not needing a Nintendo Direct. I'm sitting pretty. I've got 6 things that are coming out in the next few weeks that I couldn't be more excited for. You got that Resident Evil game around the corner. Yeah, I've got Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green on Friday. Oh wow, I guess that's the same day as Resident Evil actually.
It is.
And then Pokopia, like a week and a half after. It's like God, what a time to be alive. But the kind of secondary outrage concerning these Fire Red and Leaf Green ports is that there is this feature frustration. They did not add online trading. They didn't add online battling. And this, I think, is really interesting because now we're gonna kind of slightly verge into remake remaster discourse with this.
Yeah.
Because please.
Because it's this thing where it's like, okay, you're mad that like this game from what year were those games? Like I'm gonna say like 2004, but that feels wrong.
Ooh, that's a great guess though. I love the early 2000s for those. I think that's how I kind of see 2002 in my brain.
2004.
Oh, nice, way to go!
Right on the money.
Yes.
But you know, they have like. Okay, they're not doing the online play because there was not online play with these original ones. You cannot do online battling. You cannot do online trading. But it's kind of like, you know, everyone's talking about like video game preservation. Like, hey, the original versions should be up for purchase at these places, you know, on these storefronts and whatever. And like, hey, here it is. Here it is. And I guess it's a bummer if you wanted to like do online trading or stuff, but might I direct you to any Pokemon game from the last decade of your life has this stuff. There is
a game that takes place in Kanto on the Nintendo Switch where you can do the online trading if you so need.
Is that Hello Eevee or what is it called?
That's right. Hello
Pikachu
and Hello Eevee.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this funny thing where, and I think it speaks to maybe this larger issue in the Pokemon space where this desire for every game to be everything. It is fascinating to me because, like you were saying, we are porting Fire Red and Leaf Green to the Switch. And I think that on the Game Boy Advance, these are games that demanded physical proximity if you wanted to engage in some of the extended features of that game.
Yeah.
And I think that part of the messaging in that game, thematically, what is going on, that friction, you had to know somebody, you had to coordinate with them, you have to show up, that constraint. I don't really see that as a technical failure. I see that part of the game's themes. I see that as part of the game's kind of like social architecture.
Yes.
So to demand that online systems be implemented into this game, I think is to rewrite the design of that game into something it never was and never was supposed to be. And why do we need every single Pokemon game to be this living service ecosystem with frictionless global connectivity? There is meaning in maintaining the original boundaries that shaped player behavior.
Yes.
And
well, that's the whole thing about this idea of like remaster, remake, whatever. Like, if you are trying to genuinely make it so like this is how this game plays as you remember, which is like I feel like the common thing you hear about like remasters, like oh, it's just like you remember. Adding online play, adding online trading, wonder trading, whatever. See, there's a Pokemon piece of
very good
vocab I have.
Yeah.
That is not what this was. And so it is not how you remember it because it wasn't there. And so like exactly what you're saying, I do think there was something to the idea of having to meet up with someone, grab your link cable, right? Remember, like everyone is like so excited when Nintendo like introduces like old pieces of like peripheral hardware. They're like, oh my gosh, we have the N64 controller for the Nintendo Switch. What? And it's like, but the second that you're asked to do something that is not just like the most, what I would say maybe obvious sort of nostalgia stuff, it's a big problem.
Dude, my favorite version of this would have been if they did not release these games on Switch and instead released a little Game Boy Advance and it had the games on it.
I kind of like
Yeah.
this, to be honest with you. I kind of like this.
I know. I hope they do something like that in the future, like how they did the NES Mini and all that stuff. Because
Yeah.
like that with like a Game Boy would go crazy, dude. I would.
Yes.
Oh my god, I'd buy one of those up.
Or it's one of those things too. You can fix the problem where like, hey, these like Nintendo DS games just don't get brought over to the Switch because of the whole like dual screen tech stuff that was going on. It's like,
Whoa.
why don't you just do like a DS classic? You know what I mean? It's just got a bunch of stuff on there. Anyway.
God. So the other kind of like small part of this too is that I've been seeing a lot of these posts and a lot of these complaints that like in Fire Red and Leaf Green there's no day-night cycle, so you can't get Umbreon and Espeon. These Pokemon aren't in the game because that was only in this version of the. I'm so sorry. I'm even talking to you.
No,
about
I guess I'm just like, if they weren't in the game, why are people mad about it?
Well, listen, man, listen. It's because people see they've just like bought into this Pokemon thing. But I think Pokemon games, the modern ones, have trained its players into believing that all of its systems should be entirely smoothed out. There should be no barriers, and you should be able to. People have been trained to see every single game as a checklist, and they've lost their relationship to the game itself in favor of seeing it as this larger tapestry
I see
filling in all of the boxes.
Yeah.
And so nobody talks about these games. Dude, ever since these games got announced, there hasn't been a single piece talking about the value that these games actually have. And instead, the entirety of the conversation has been about like comparing them to these modern, entirely smoothed over Pokemon games that exist now, rather than understanding the value of what it was.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So here's the question then too, sort of piggybacking off this conversation, because I feel like this has been coming up. I mean, specifically Nintendo.
Yeah.
This is something we've had people sort of ask us to talk about in our Discord server over the past few months. If you want access to that, patreon.com/criticalerror, become a $5 member of the nation. Game key cards.
Yeah.
The fact that like a lot of these games don't have, like when you buy the cartridge, the game's not on there, or you know it's the half of it and you have to download the rest and whatever. And it's interesting to me that people are seemingly upset about this with the Switch 2 specifically, because that's been happening everywhere else for like more than a decade, like since the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One came out in like 2011 or 12 or whatever it was, you know, like it's just so interesting to me that this seems to be like this huge conversation right now specifically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, this to me just feels like a very knee-jerk position to have, where you don't have to like do any research and everybody will just kind of agree with you. I can't tell you how many times I've heard or read people be like, I'm refusing to buy game key cards because I don't really own the game. And I'm like, but surely, do you not buy any digital games? Do you not buy?
Like, that's the problem, right? Where it's like here's the thing. I'm not saying that that's good. I think it's bad that we don't own anything. I think that's not good.
Yeah.
However, that's just, if you want to engage with the industry with video games, it's just a fact of what it is, right?
And
for the most part.
Right, and it's funny. It's like, because even with physical games, I've heard this term, the burden of storage, is now placed on the player, and I find that to be a bit of a goofy position to hold, just because the burden of deleting a bunch of games that you're not playing simultaneously for the sake of making space for a new one, I don't necessarily know if that's a real burden. And the idea of like, oh, one day I won't be able to download these Nintendo games. Well, listen, chum, weren't you the same person that was just telling me that you could download the ROM to Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green? So pick a side. But no,
yes.
but really, I think the thing that's most funny about this to me is this fear of the game being taken away, the game that you bought. Now, the furthest back that we can go right now with like these kind of Nintendo online platforms is maybe something like the 3DS, right? And if I go back on my 3DS right now and I try to go to the 3DS eShop, I cannot purchase a game. But you know what I can still do, Peter? I can download every single game that I did purchase still on my 3DS today.
I think it's a It's really the fear of the unknown. I think is that what's freaking people out. Because it's like, well, technically, yes, you're right that you can do that right now, Jake. And this is where the fear is. But what about in 10 years? You know, what about in 15? And it's this thing where I understand that fear, and I think that fear is like legitimate, because it's like, yeah, eventually services are going to shut down, right? Like, not to bring it back to Xbox, but I'm like, hey, is Xbox going to be around next year? So if you bought a game on their platform, like, and that all just disappears because Microsoft decides actually we're just hemorrhaging money over this, like, what happens with that? I do think that's a valid concern, but it is this sort of thing where it's like, yeah, I just don't know, like, what the like game key cards specifically, like, how does that all play into this in terms of like, yeah.
I think that's the relevant thing in this discussion, because the online reaction often frames game keycards as this uniquely dystopian escalation of video games, but it's just a very like direct continuation of the same licensing logic that undergirds every single contemporary marketplace. So I think if you're going to care about game keycards, there is maybe a more structured way to support a cause about digital ownership, about, like, you know, something you might actually be able to control. Because the thing about digital keycards is that I think if we had more stringent legislation around digital ownership, they actually are not a problem inherent to themselves. And you could actually own your digital products, even if they are digital. And I think the fear around game key cards is that people see them as this kind of phasing out of physical cards, and physical cards are real ownership, whereas digital is not. And I think people need to reframe that and say, how can we make digital ownership more real? I think that would be a much more valuable road to go down. But also, just personally, I would like to throw my hat in the ring to defend the game key card. For an entire generation, maybe longer, I saw video game publishers trying to sell a code in the box.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot tell me that the game key card is not an alternative to the physical cartridge. The game key card is the alternative to the code in the box. And the game key card is better than the code in the box.
I would probably agree.
I can give you my game key card, and now you have the game.
Right, yes.
I can resell my game key card. I can take it back to the store. The only thing you're losing out on is I can have me and my brother have the same single game key card. We both download the games onto our Switches, and then we just give each other the card when we want to play it. This is convenient. I see the need for this. And more important than anything else, I think something that gets kind of ignored in a lot of this game key card discussion is that I've seen the director of Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch come out here and go, oh, we actually couldn't put this game on a Switch 2 cartridge because the ability to stream data from the cartridge to the system was not fast enough. So we had to use a game key card to download the game onto the system so that we could make it perform the way that we wanted it to perform. And like at that point, who's your issue actually with? Is it with these cheapo third parties, or is it with maybe Nintendo? And that's an interesting question. Now, listen, everybody. Do I think that like some of these companies are being cheapos by having their really small games on these game key cards that could otherwise be on physical carts, and it's totally okay to say, hey, you're cheaping out, you should put this on a physical cartridge? I think that that's totally fine. But at the same time, if there is no game key card, there probably wouldn't have been a physical version of that game at all. It probably would have just been a digital only game. That's my take. That's my take.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's interesting you mentioned, like, you know, talking about like video game preservation and stuff like this. Here's something that I kind of wanted to talk to you about. Like in High Guard has been such like a hot topic over the past 3 to 6 weeks here, which is kind of interesting because it seems that like people, it's more interesting to talk about High Guard than it is to actually talk about playing High Guard, which is interesting because we're not shy about it. We're fans of the game. But it seems like there's been this sort of conversation that's been brewing a lot lately. And with High Guard, there's been this sort of, it's been brought to the forefront again. And do you remember, okay, do you know what King of Meat is? I think you do because me and Christian have talked about it.
Typically, this kind of language stays confined to the bedroom.
Okay, Jake. No, so King of Meat is this like live service game from Amazon, from the Amazon Game Studios. That was like a Fall Guys type platformer thing, whatever. It launched, I think, at the end of last year, maybe the end of last year. And they announced, hey, we're shutting this thing down. It had like all-time Steam peak of like 320 concurrent players. Like this thing like flopped hard. And it's interesting because I saw a lot of people sort of eulogizing and talking about like, oh, it's such a shame that this game is shutting down and all this sort of thing. And this is removed, by the way, from the idea that like people are going to lose their jobs, because of course that's a shame and everything. But I saw a lot of people saying yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. I saw a lot of people sort of saying this like thing that basically boiled down to like all games should essentially be eternal. You know, that all live service games are meant to, that need to be supported and need to exist forever. And I'm curious what you think about that. Like, I played King of Meat at Summer Game Fest last year, and I didn't like it at all. We had 45 minutes with it, and after about 12, I was looking over at Christian, and I was like, how can we politely make this stop? How can we politely like exit this situation?
Okay, so I think that, you know, because of the kind of social media political justice that people like to espouse, we oftentimes lose like the ideology at the core of some of our beliefs in favor of just kind of being performative. So for example, this is going to sound like a stupid question, but why are layoffs bad? Why are layoffs bad?
Because people lose their livelihoods.
People lose their livelihoods. And what's interesting is, could we imagine a world in which there are more social safety nets, in which people are more secure, where one losing their video game developing job is not a death sentence for them?
Right.
And that, I think, is what gets lost here, is that if we had universal healthcare and could, you know, like I knew that I was always going to have a roof over my head and food on the table, then maybe these layoffs wouldn't be so bad. And I think that it's in that world, if we were in that world, we would be able to understand that sometimes layoffs happen.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we don't live in that world.
Right, because if everyone is having their needs met, then I think then job security is not this like thing that you need to like white knuckle grip onto for all of time. But I guess like my question about it like is not necessarily about the loss of jobs, because of course that's frustrating and irritating and sad and all that. But it's more about this idea that like I saw people saying like, damn, it's such a shame King of Meat is shutting down. And I'm like, such a shame. 320 people played this ever. Like
there is this, you know, there is a reflexive almost moralization of the commercial failure. It's like the game being bad does not negate the real human cost of its collapse, obviously, but the developer suffering also does not make King of Meat good. So
that's the thing. It's like I feel this way about High Guard too, because again, you and I like it, but also at the end of the day, that was a free-to-play game that had more than 100,000 people play it, and it's like been dipping below 1,000 every single day.
So preservation discourse does this all the time. I feel like we just saw this with Anthem, where the discourse drifts into this kind of sentimental flattening, where any live service game then in its death becomes a martyr for what could have been. And the thing that people I think forget is that like a cultural preservation of anything is not about canonization, it's about record keeping. And some preserved works are masterpieces, but some are cautionary tales.
Yeah.
And it's like the game being accessible for everybody is not necessarily the goal of preservation. There's an act of curation. Sometimes you need to, and sometimes it's just the media made around something so that our understanding of it can be clear when we move forward in history. And I think a failure of something like Anthem is that I feel like all of a sudden nobody liked Anthem more than when it died, dude. And I was like, damn, we just have no idea how to talk about something in like an honest way. We just have to make it part of this thing that we think is like the right way to talk about stuff. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. Jake, I'm gonna give us both, I have on my phone 30 seconds, and I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to speak on this topic, and I'm gonna take 30 seconds to speak on this topic, and then we'll just move on. Is that fair?
Let's do it. Let's get it done. I want to put a trigger warning here.
Yes.
for our upcoming discussion. This is the most I think personally chided that I will feel by anything I ever discuss on this podcast. I apologize to the room. What is coming out of me is pure emotion. You're used to the analysis. You're used to the critical take. You're not going to find that here. This is raw, meaty emotion. All right.
All right, let me hit you with this prompt. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Magic the Gathering, go.
I am so tired of seeing Magic the Gathering covered on these video game websites. It sickens me. Every other post is thank you, Magic the Gathering, for sending me tons and tons of cardboard. I just can't wait to unbox it. And I think it is a little weird that these freelancers are getting given free stuff so that they can generate revenue for themselves by writing articles about Magic the Gathering, completely laundering it as an experience on these websites where it doesn't even fit in. It doesn't even fit in.
I just think it's a little weird, isn't it? That just like, if any other industry, I think, received gifts all the time, if the people covering that industry just received like gifts, like these giant care packages from these major companies, like every, I don't know, 2 months. And then those people had to post, thank you for these cards. Thank you for the wonderful gift. I just think a lot of other people would be really weirded out by that. And it doesn't happen in games. It doesn't. What the fuck?
On a completely separate topic.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think we use the word coverage too liberally?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's a catch-all. Okay. Here's something else. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't think this word is lazy, but it is a word that I've clocked that I think I use a lot, and I think a lot of people in games use a lot. And I think there's a time and a place for it, but I think we need to be more careful about the word visceral.
Oh, Peter, yes. Tell me more.
It's not lazy, right? It's not like it's not a word that means nothing. It has meaning and all this stuff, but it's not like saying like, oh, it's not for me. It's not like espousing the role of doing the work to anyone else, but it is a word that I think people use a lot. Like, it's so viscerally satisfying, or the combat is so visceral, and it's a word that works, but I think it's overused, and I think it's often used as a crutch for writers.
I mean, listen, if we're just talking about words we don't like,
go right ahead.
I think you're right. I think we have to stop lying about the experience that we're having playing games. You know, I see this stuff all the time about like it took my breath away. It genuinely shocked me. I'm on the edge of my seat. This isn't working. It's not working. It's not working on me. I've never had that. No. Listen, not enough people are putting in their reviews of video games the feeling of a clenched butthole. You know it. You know the feeling. We're playing Apex. You know what I'm talking about.
Dude, you could turn coal into diamond for me when it's getting up there. Jake, I got a question for you. Are you familiar with the website patreon.com/criticalerror?
Oh my God, one of my favorite links to type in its entirety.
In its entirety, because if you go there, you can join the Critical Error Nation for just 5 smackaroos, 1/4 the cost of Pokemon Leaf Green or Fire Red on your Nintendo Switch. Patreon.com/criticalerror. You can join our nation, get a whole slew of bonus content. We have. This is, I think, like our 33rd or 34th main episode. We've got just as many, in fact, more bonus episodes on there, including some wonderful discussions. We had our book club that we kind of wrapped up this week by reading the micro memoirs written by the nation. A whole lot of stuff on there. Every week we do a bonus episode, and those are some of my favorite chats that Jake, you and I have throughout the entire week, and we talk a lot. But before we get there, before we move on to a written piece from you, Jake, I would love to just give a quick shout out to some members of the nation, the members at the Jake and Peter tier. That is the highest tier on our Patreon. Members like Andrew Bolkar, members like Evan Snee, members like Mayro, and Robert Quesada. Thank you so much for your support. Without your financial, monetary support, we would not be able to do this show the way that we do it.
Sound effect. This week, I'm going into the sound effect wanting to channel to the best of my ability the Pokemon rap.
Oh,
You're familiar?
Electro, Diglett, Nidorite, Mankey. Yes, yes.
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna. That's what I'm gonna channel, and we'll see how it turns out.
Catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all.
Gotta catch 'em all.
Andrew Volcar, Ansel, Trade, Evans Knee, Mayro, Robert Quesada, Connor True Love, Danny Disaster, Dave Sperry, Jacob Ritter, Jared Cousineau, Sam Woods, Cole Mitch Dyer, Hale Chow, Shin Pin Keo, Stick Dick Mystic.
You got something written that you've prepared for us?
I do. I've got something written. So, my heart has been captured lately by my superhero fiction novel. I've been going back and I have completely kind of rewritten some of the starting circumstances, my protagonist's kind of position in the world. And it's funny, I think I was working on this book for about a year, and I got it into a place where I liked it, but things are starting to finally click into place now, and I feel like I see it more clearly than I ever have. But what I will be sharing with us today is a little bit of a continuation from the last time I shared part of this book. So if you remember our main character, Seth, he has the power of twiddle fingers.
Yes.
Extremely dexterous hands. He works at the pretzel shop in the mall. The only thing you need to know for this particular section is that he has been talking to a customer who their twist, the word for superpowers in this world, has resulted in this man looking like a turtle. He is a bit of a turtle man.
Okay.
And that's just, I think there's like one line in there, so just so you can place it.
Got it, okay.
But we're introducing a new character, so here we go. I spot something in the mall outside the pretzel shop that stops me in my tracks. A villain! Okay, wait. Not a villain, but a bad guy. Well, okay. A guy that I don't like. A guy I would describe without hesitation as bad, lowercase. All stinking summer, he's walked into old Unky Garfunky's like he owns it. Annoyingly handsome, arrogantly tall, jerkishly broad shoulders, perfect hair that never moves. No matter how humid it is, no matter how much wind, not even when he throws his head back and laughs, I have gathered against my own sense of taste that girls love these qualities. He gets pretzels with a different girl every weekend, sometimes two in a single day. Always hot, too, the pretzels and the girls. Worst of all, through loud secondhand humiliation, I have learned that his name is Seth. My name. I can pretty much count on Hot Seth showing up once a shift to perform his rituals, loudly spoiling movies I haven't seen yet, discussing lacrosse like it's geopolitics, ranking celebrities he thinks he could beat up, but his signature move is flicking salt packets everywhere. It sounds harmless, surely, who cares? But he does it like he believes these salt packets exist for sport, and he has never once considered that they contain salt that people might want. I must be staring, because my new twisted turtle friend turns just in time to see Hot Seth stomp in, wearing high tops with a green swoosh, the exact pair I have been eyeing in the Foot Doctor window for weeks. A tall goon in a hoodie, beanie, shorts, and flip-flops trails behind him. No girl, surprisingly. Yo-ho-ho! Hot Seth bellows like a douchey Santa Claus. Dog, you are a turtle. Hey man, I jump in. Please be polite too. Or what? He barks. I'm twisted too. It's cool. It's okay, the turtle man says mildly. I was just going, right? The oven dings behind me, perfectly on cue. Right, I say, plating the pretzels and sliding them over. And that will be all? Wait! One of the goons calls, pushing forward. He grabs the large cup of water that I had prepared for my turtle friend and shoves the man aside. Fishy needs a drink, he says, throwing the cup. My arm juts out. The tiniest drops kiss my pinky, then my ring finger, then middle, then thumb, in order. Like a roll call, I feel the wave strain in the air, barely holding itself together, and in an instant, I command all of the liquid downward. A clean splash. The water doesn't even graze the turtle man's shoes. Hot Seth shoves his friend, grabs him by the collar. Sorry, he forces out, teeth gritted, glancing at my name tag. Still incorrect. Seat, Hot Seth says. A wave of arid heat hits me, like I'm nose to nose with a space heater. Each blink sticks. I can almost hear the spilled water simmering at his feet. Hot Seth is, of course, hot. He escorts his friend out. I look down. The pretzels now are slightly overcooked. Want me to fix these? I ask. That was very impressive, the Turtle Man says. Yes, very, very impressive. Oh no, I say quickly, twiddle fingers. May I have a bag, he asks, gesturing. As I bag them, he studies me. Your instincts, he trails off, then nods at the pretzels. Ah, yes, good boy. Have a good day, sir. He pats his pockets. Hey, I say. On me. And he folds a crisp bill and drops it into the tip jar, which previously contained exactly 9 cents. I squint at the mottled glass as the Turtle Man shuffles off and immediately fish the bill out. 100. The paper feels identical to every $1 bill I have ever held. The same fibers, the same faint coolness of ink, the same raised print, except this one is worth 100 of those losers. I close the shop nearly 3 hours early. I think my real life starts now. There you go.
Ah, loved this.
Oh, good, fun.
Love this. No, this is great. This has been my favorite. Previously, my other Twiddle Fingers one was my favorite thing you've read on the pod. I think you just do such a good job at like, here's this kind of like mundane guy who it does have this like special thing about him, but like no one really sees it, except for this turtle guy. He kind of gets it, right? And the idea of like there being like hot Seth and everything he does is just a little bit better than you. You know what I mean? And I also appreciate the fact that it all comes from the lens of like you getting this guy pretzels. Do you know what I mean? So it's he brings a new girl with him every time to get pretzels.
Yeah.
It's like, and I just had to shut up and get him his pretzel. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just such a small component of this guy's like douchey life, and I hate it. But I have to get him pretzels every day. It's good. This is very fun.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I found a really good tone for this, and just kind of like how the humor works, and how it is like this. There's like this almost like angry nature to the humor that I think like keeps the momentum going.
Yes.
And like that's really fun. And I don't know, writing like one of these long form things like this, there's all this stuff in here that I'm really excited for people to see when it's kind of like in its final form, because I think Seth, our main character, he really only reads as the main character because we are with him and we are seeing things through his perspective. But like otherwise, he really is, this is at the beginning of the book where we're really just with him. But as his world gets bigger, he gets so much smaller. And you'll come to find that there was a reason Hot Seth was coming to the pretzel shop over and over and over again. And there was a reason he was there that day. And stuff with this Turtle Man. There's stuff there as well. So I'm excited for the future of this. But I don't know. I figured out some plot stuff that is really informing some aspects of the character that I really struggled with before. Just kind of how to get everything in the right place. Yeah. And now I feel like I'm there, and it's just like, I don't know, this scene of like throwing a cup of water at the turtle guy, grabbing the water in the air and splashing it down. I'm just like, I'm like there. I see it. So
yeah, fun. No, I love this. I like I said, I like every time we get a new piece of this. So cool. Hey, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe. See you maybe over on patreon.com/criticalerror. See you in the Discord.
Bye.
Bye.